So, Pixar Games. I've been through a good amount of the console games so far. I started this little retrospective with Toy Story 1's game, and yeah, it's certainly been an interesting journey so far. Some great games, some weird games, and some not so good games as well. We've been through it all. Heck, I've even gone through all the spin off games. However, I still haven't talked about three games in particular, the last main console Pixar games, those being Cars 2, Brave, and Cars 3 Driven to Win, the most recently released games, not counting the spin offs. These were kind of the last games of this era, since licensed games that we knew during this point were kind of on the way out. Publishers like Disney and Activision stopped doing them, and THQ just flat out died. They just weren't as popular as they once were, and after this, it was either just big AAA games or very low budget releases in terms of licensed games. Nothing really in between anymore. So, yeah, I just want to talk about these three games today since I think they represent the end of an era for licensed games like these. So, let's get into it. We'll start with Cars 2, and this is the only one I actually played when I was little. See, Redbox carried video games you could rent, which, funny story, one time I rented Star Wars Battlefront 2 on PS4, and instead of getting the actual disc, someone slipped in a paper disc of it. That was hilarious and awful at the same time. But back on topic. So back when they carried Wii games, my family rented Cars 2 for a day, and it was fun. I only played it once, but I had a good time with it. But that was my only experience with it. I never ended up getting the game until way later. This was developed by Avalanche Software, who also are the same people who made the Toy Story 3 game, and they would go on to do Disney Infinity, and they would return to Cars 3 Driven to Win, which I'll get to later. It was pretty much on all the main consoles you could think of during this time, but it even got an arcade release, which is really cool. I didn't even know it existed. Plus, there were some handheld variants too, but again, for today, we're just sticking to the console versions. We'll get to these at another time. I'm going to be playing the PS3 version just because it's the one I have, so yeah, let's jump in. So, despite being based on a wild film like Cars 2, this game doesn't have a story. It's just a bunch of random missions you're doing in a simulator, which is fine. I don't think a racing game like this needed a story, and that also applies to Cars 3 as well. This game does look really nice for this generation. The environments and the models look pretty good. I love how expressive the animations are, and the game runs very well on the PS3. So, if the original Cars game trilogy were more comparable to stuff like Need for Speed, Cars 2 is more comparable to Mario Kart. If you're going from the original games to this, it's a very different experience, but I think it definitely succeeds in what it's trying to be. The controls feel great, the racing just feels really smooth. It feels exactly how you expect from a kart racer. It is a typical kart racer though. You got your power-ups, which are all spy themed, like missiles and even an orbital laser. That's hilarious. I love the boost system though. See, you have a couple different segments of boost to use. You earn boost from doing different tricks in the air, or something like drifting on these arrows. You can use one right away if you'd like, but if you fill up the entire bar, you can do a huge boost and knock a bunch of racers out. So it kind of makes you think if it's worth it to wait and fill it up all the way, or to use any of the smaller boosts you have. I really dig this. It adds a little bit of a risk and reward element to the whole race. I also really dig the track designs too. You're going around the world to different landmarks, so you have a big variety of locales, and each track has a bunch of little shortcuts you can take that really get you to master the mechanics out. Not to mention a whole lot of stuff you can do outside of just racing. You have a mission mode, which speaks for itself, though on a side note, I hate that you have to do a forced tutorial at the start. I'm not really a fan of that. We got lots of characters and race courses to unlock, including some DLC characters if you're playing on PS3 or Xbox. There's also the battle mode, which is okay. I've never really been super into battle modes in racing games, but it works alright here. You can also connect this game with World of Cars, that web-based MMO. I don't know much about it since it's long since dead, but hey, it was a thing. Otherwise, there just isn't much else for me to say on this game. It's just a really fun kart racer. If you like Mario Kart and like cars, you'll definitely enjoy it. The tracks are fun, I love the mechanics, and you have a lot of content you can go through. Give this one a shot if you're curious. And with that, we'll quickly move on to Cars 3 Driven to Win. I know Brave came out in between both of these games, but I think it makes more sense to save that game for last. I gotta say, it's weird seeing the Warner Brothers logo on a Disney game. They also did Lego Incredibles. I know it's because Disney Interactive was shut down, but still, it's really weird to see. This is the most recent main Pixar game, well, again, unless you're counting Lego Incredibles, and it was on pretty much every system you can think of during this time, except PC, which is really odd. I'm going to be playing the PS4 version on my PS5, and oh man, I gotta say, this might be the best looking Pixar game we've gotten so far. The characters and the racetracks look really good, even better than Cars 2. This game just looks great all around. And gameplay wise, well, it's pretty much exactly like Cars 2. So everything I liked about that game is also here. So it still feels great. I really dig the track design. You have a ton of stuff you can unlock. Really, this is just Cars 2 again, and still fun. I also gotta say, I really like how much more difficult this game is. Cars 2, I do feel, was on the easy side of things, but Driven to Win really ramps up the difficulty, and I love that. It makes it an even more fulfilling experience to me. Oh, by the way, much better tutorial here. It's way more engaging, and it doesn't last anywhere near as long as the previous game. This was a huge improvement. Honestly, I don't have much else to say on Driven to Win either. It's just more of Cars 2, and it's still fun. If you're itching for more kart racers, give this one a shot too. And finally, we'll wrap this small little video up with Brave the video game. This was developed by Behavior Interactive, who also did Monsters Inc. Scare Island. Pretty neat little connection there. This was on pretty much all the 7th gen consoles and the DS though, again, saving that one for another time. We're going to be playing the PC version since that's just the one I have, so unfortunately I can't experience that garbage shooting range mode that the 360 version had. Sorry, Kinect fans. The story is pretty cool. It's similar to the movie's plot, but is way more adventurous than what the movie was doing, with Merida going on this big quest to rid the land of Mordu's curse. Honestly, I kinda wish the movie leaned more into something like this. Plus, it's nice to see more of this land. It's very neat. I like the little storybook cutscenes too we see from time to time. There's not many of them, but they are pretty cute. The game looks pretty good for the most part. Well, outside of Merida's hair. Why does her hair look like it's made of party confetti? That's literally all I see now. It looks so goofy. But anyways, this is an adventure game slash twin stick shooter of sorts. Merida can use her sword or aim at enemies with her bow and arrow using a twin stick shooter control scheme, and it feels really good. Like, it's a weird idea, but it works pretty well. I think the combat feels really fun. It's simple, but it works, especially with the element system. See, throughout the game, Merida will gain access to the earth, fire, ice, and air elements. You can swap between them, and they each give your sword and bow and arrows different effects. You're basically swapping between elements to see which enemy is weak against what, and also using them to get through obstacles. It's a really fun mechanic. Like, it's pretty simple, but I like how much you can do with it. Enemies also drop coins, and these are used for the shop to buy more upgrades for Merida. Pretty self-explanatory. But I also like that the game encourages you to explore a little deeper into these stages. Like, there are a bunch of times where you can go off the beaten path and find some goodies like a bunch of coins or chests that contain stuff like new swords, bows, outfits, and even increasing your overall health. Though, I gotta say, I love how with the bows, each one you find gets bigger and bigger as you find them. It's really comical how big these get. I just find it really funny. But yeah, I think the exploration is just really well executed. The only low point I have for this is the bosses. I found all of them to be very underwhelming. Even the final boss was kind of boring. You don't even get to fight Mordu himself. He just sits there behind a force field while you hit the element rocks. There will also be times where you'll play as Merida's brothers and her mom. The former I thought were fine puzzles, but not really that interesting. And the latter I thought was alright, but they were over before you know it. Both styles break up the main Merida gameplay good enough, but I don't really find either very exciting. The game is not very long, it's only around 3 hours, and I think that's fine for a game like this. There's not much else to do when you're done. Like, I guess you can try the game again on a higher difficulty, maybe a run in co-op where another player plays as a wisp, but that's all I could really think of though. But this is just a very well made action adventure game. I had a pretty fun time with it. The core gameplay was just really fun. I love the exploration and the combat was really fun. I didn't really know much about this one before playing it, but I'm really glad I checked it out. It's a really good game for what it is. It knows what it wants to be and it succeeds in doing just that. Would definitely recommend this one for sure. And that's all 3 games. Yeah, I know this video wasn't very long, but hey, I didn't really have a lot to say about these 3 games. But all 3 are very fun, and it helps that they are also some of the more accessible Pixar games. You can still get most of these on modern platforms. Cars 2 and Brave are on the newer Xbox consoles, as well as Steam, though be forewarned that for Cars 2, that version is based on the Wii port, so maybe not the best way to play that game. And as for Cars 3, well, aside from PC, it's on every modern platforms, and it goes on sale for dirt cheap sometimes. I've seen it go on sale for like $4. Definitely a good deal on that. It is unfortunate that we don't really see Pixar games anymore, but hey, at least it ended on a positive note. It's been a great ride going through all these games. I know I'm not done yet. I still have a certain other side of Pixar to tackle at some point, but for the main console games, it was a very fascinating experience, but that's all the time we have for today. If you liked this video, give it a like, and if you're new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Plus, if you played any of these 3 games, let me know what you think of them. I'm curious what your experiences with these games were. I hope you all have an amazing day, and take care. Bye!